With this new color scheme that's very reminiscent of Japanese bikes from the 90s, this is the new Honda CB750 HORNET. Now also with e-clutch, just like its Enduro sister, the Transalp, they share the same base and Honda updated them together. So we tested them together here in Faro, Portugal, and today I'll tell you how it performs, but first let's take a closer look at it. Yes, indeed, this is the new Hornet, which remains very similar, perhaps even more so than the Transalp to the 2025 model. The colors are different, there are many new accessories, new decals, in short. This yellow version, which I think is truly iconic. But the most important update, as with the Transalp, is the new electronic clutch actuator, the e-clutch, a technology Honda had already introduced, but now it's coming to the twin cylinders too. As mentioned, the bike roughly shares its frame with the Transalp, but it's lighter here without so many superstructures. We're talking about 196 kilos in running order. With the seat at 795 millimeters from the ground, it's a very easy bike, I must say, though it's still fun, as we'll see later in the test ride. At 1.77 meters, I can touch the ground easily with both feet. It also shares the engine with the Transalp, this 750cc twin-cylinder that develops 92 horsepower, which is quite a lot. It's also available in an A2 version, but at full power, it's a bike to be handled with care, because it can be, well, fun, but also challenging to manage if you don't have the right experience. As for the suspension, we find a 41mm fork, an inverted Showa, and at the back, there's the ProLink shock absorber. A relatively simple fork and shock, but it's surprising how this bike handles on the road, like a true benchmark naked bike. We have two 17-inch rims, but the 160 rear tire is confirmed, which has always been a criticism of the Hornet, having a different tire than its competitors, so a 160 instead of a 180, a bit smaller. In reality, this is what gives this bike the great agility we experienced during this test here in Faro, Portugal. Similarly, the braking system hasn't changed either, still relying on a Nissan axial pump and two Nissan calipers gripping a pair of 310mm discs, while at the back we have a 246mm disc. Obviously, the biggest news here, as with the Transalp, is all about the e-clutch, a system that's a bit of a middle ground between a traditional gearbox, a quick shifter, and a DCT. The automatic part is only related to the clutch. You don't need to pull it even when starting or stopping, but then the gearbox works exactly like a quick shifter. So we shift gears both up and down. By the way, the shifting is much smoother and faster than a quick shifter, not to mention compared to a manual shift. So yes, on one hand it can be a solution designed for those who maybe come from a scooter and aren't confident with the clutch and might stall the bike. From the other point of view, it's definitely also designed to be more fun. And when riding, this bike is a lot of fun. In terms of electronics, we have ABS, traction control, engine maps, connectivity with the Honda Road Sync system, color TFT, smartphone connection, integrated turn-by-turn navigation. There's quite a lot of stuff, and the tank is about 15 liters. At the moment, we don't know, just like for the Transalp, what the official price will be, but probably when you watch this video, if you watch it a bit later, the price will be out, so it certainly won't have deviated too much from the figures we know for the 2025 Hornet. Let's turn it on. I'll let you hear the sound of this Honda twin-cylinder, which is always very interesting. Then we'll get in the saddle. I can't wait to tell you about it, because the e-clutch on Honda's new twin cylinders works really very well. A nice aggressive sound for a bike that can also seem docile, can also seem light, easy, but knows how to entertain experts and non-experts alike. So let's get in the saddle and I'll tell you how the new Honda CB750 HORNET with the e-clutch system performs. Here it is, guys, the new Hornet 750 now with e-clutch in this color scheme that unfortunately I can only show you like this at the start. I'll try another blue one and then some stretches also with the black and red one, but at least we'll see all the colors a bit. The e-clutch you see is located there. It's not in the way, and above all, it allows us to have the benefit of an automatic clutch, so to speak, not an automatic gear change, and also that of an even more precise and sporty quick shifter. Anyway, let's get in the saddle. I can't wait to tell you how this new Honda Naked performs. And here we are on board the CB750 HORNET. Here, as with the Transalp, well, very little changes in terms of feeling in the saddle. The riding position here is essentially exactly the same as that of the old, so to speak, Hornet. However, in this case, the main improvement is actually the new e-clutch system, which now comes as standard equipment on this 2025 Hornet. Anyway, it's a very narrow bike, really quite slim, nice, easy to handle, agile and responsive, just as the English would say. The handlebar offers an interesting load on the front. We have the comfort seat, which is really very comfortable. In terms of height, it is not expected to change compared to the standard one. Triangulation geared towards sportiness with the foot peg set quite far back and quite high. But now, I can't wait to try it dynamically, also because I really want to understand how the e-clutch pairs with such a sporty bike, a twin cylinder, compared to the CB650R, which clearly had the system without throttle by wire for a start, while here there is. And so from a sporty perspective, I'm really curious to see how the new Hornet behaves now.
Luckily, there's no shortage of scenery and curves to test it out properly now, so let's not waste time and start right away. With this first right-hand turn, a nice wide curve, we lean into it and it's a real marvel with her. And then you shift with an incredible speed from the electronic gear change. Very precise. At any RPM, throttle open, throttle closed. It's practically a quick shifter 2.0. 1 gear down, 2 gears down. Really so precise in the shifting thanks to the e-clutch. And then the bike is very light, super fun. It leans into corners beautifully. It goes down with such ease. You can manage some really interesting leans with this Hornet. The fork really offers an excellent feeling, and just listen to how the twin-cylinder engine sings too, shared with the Transalp, for example, just as the e-clutch is now shared as well, as you might expect here clearly. Look at these changes of direction, guys. Clearly I was telling you what changes compared to most bikes, which has always been a bit of a criticism, leveled at the Hornet, and that's the 160 rear tire, which, however, is also what gives it this truly incredible mark of agility in changes of direction. And that also makes the Hornet a perfect bike for those starting out, especially for city use too. It's really super practical, but in dynamic riding like this, guys, what a real pleasure it is to drive. When you open it up with confidence, the twin-cylinder engine gives you some really nice, satisfying accelerations. Let's put it that way. Flashing when the ABS kicks in. I must say that the chassis on this Hornet is now also quite respectable. With the e-clutch, obviously here it's just like riding a bike with a quick shifter. Clearly when you stop or in the city when maneuvering, the nice thing is not having to use the clutch, which for more inexperienced users is an added value. Maybe for those switching from a scooter, you don't have to worry about stalling the bike. The power-to-weight ratio of this Hornet 750 is always very interesting. It's a bike that turns out to be much lighter than the industry average now, but with a more powerful engine with more horsepower compared to the industry average. This is a first bike. Well, it's true, there's also an A2 version, maybe better. As a first bike, you already need to be cautious, but with the right mindset, maybe using the right maps, you have a lot of fun, and then it's a bike you don't get bored of, especially after a season or two, which might happen with some of its competitors. I want to show you that it's possible to ride it like a traditional bike too. See, now I'm going to shift using the clutch, and I can do it without any kind of intervention. Just pull the clutch, and we are the ones who practically go and bypass the e-clutch operation. As for highway transfers, obviously guys, this is a naked bike, so you get a lot of wind in your face, but that's just how it is. I have to say that now on the highway we're at about 130, and there's a lot of noise in your ears. At the same time, it's not one of those bikes that, in my opinion, feels uncomfortable, even after many miles. Of course, I'm riding the model with the comfort seat, so maybe the standard seat model might give different feedback. It's not a touring bike, it's not for long trips, even though there are original Honda bags available in the accessory list. Let's just say if you want to go touring, the Transalp is clearly better from that point of view. But it holds its own, and then there's the e-clutch, which is always an added convenience. Speaking of what could be city use, even though we won't really encounter any real cities in this area, it's obvious that the Hornet has always been a great city bike. The 160 tire makes the bike more agile in some ways, and now with the e-clutch, well, you don't have to mess around with the clutch anymore when starting at traffic lights. It's definitely more practical in some respects. The e-clutch is a feature that might bring people who have only bought scooters until now closer to a real motorcycle by removing the risk of stalling the bike if you don't know how to manage the clutch well. It's an intermediate step, let's say, between a bike with a normal gearbox and maybe something more advanced like the DCT. And in these traffic scenarios, let's say that even the slightly smaller tire, this 160 that's often criticized, makes it feel like a bicycle in traffic, very practical to use. And then the low weight and the low seat height make it truly perfect as an everyday bike for the city. We also have to mention the very low fuel consumption, which is another reason why it remains a great bike for daily commuting. Now, for example, we're coming up to a traffic light, and I want to show you what happens if we happen to arrive in 6th gear. See? It signals that we should maybe downshift for a quicker pickup, but in reality, if we give it gas, the bike goes smoothly, or rather, smoothly enough. You're still putting stress on the clutch, so it's not great for the longevity of the components, but it's convenient because if you forget to downshift, the bike won't stall. You'll notice because there's a lack of response when you twist the throttle, but you avoid bigger problems in certain situations. Alright guys, after testing it for many miles now, I'd say it's time to draw some conclusions on this Hornet 750 with E-clutch, the 2026 model. I have to say, Honda did a great job with the E-clutch that we initially tried on the CB650, but now with this new Transalp and Hornet pairing and the introduction of throttle-by-wire, the system has been further improved. It's now even sportier, both because there's clearly better communication between the electronic throttle and the E-clutch actuator, and also because the gear changes have become even smoother and more precise. It has auto blip, so in terms of sportiness, it definitely works better on the Hornet than on the CB, which is an older design, but that's understandable. That said, the new Hornet 2025 model, we don't know yet how much it will cost. It won't have a very different price from the 2024 model, with the advantage of now also having the E-clutch. As far as I'm concerned, well, it's an extraordinarily fun bike, easy but also fun, with which you can really go very fast. It's also perfect for beginners, but on the other hand, it can also be restricted for an A2 license. What can I say? Here from Faro, Portugal, from the press test of this Honda Hornet 750 with E-clutch, that's all. Let me know what you think of the bike, because in my opinion, at this price, it's one of the best in its segment, and then in general, what you think of the E-clutch. That's all for today's video. A big greeting from Andrea. We'll see each other again soon in the next video. Bye.